Tonight, in this edition of the Primetime Newscast on Equinox Television, Elections Cameroon is strategizing on how to get the marginalized population in Cameroon involved in the country's electoral process. But it is coming only several years after the inception of Elections Cameroon. We'll tell you more on that in this edition of the Primetime Newscast. Also ahead, we tell you why floods are practically inevitable in Kongsamba of the Mongo division of Cameroon. Local authorities are blaming it on the non-respect of construction norms and lack of drainage system. Plus, in the second part of this newscast, each student in the institutions of higher learning in Cameroon as well as state universities would be entitled to a laptop. How are lecturers as well as students receiving the message? We shall be telling you more on that in the second part of this newscast. Stay with us. Good evening to you, televiewers. We thank you so much for joining us in this edition of the Primetime Newscast on Equinox Television. Let's begin right away. In the nation's political capital, the government of Cameroon has launched a business plan to restructure the national air carrier, Cameco. The plan would relieve Cameco of its debt and equally inject billions of francs CFA in the company that has not been stable for quite some time now. Our reporter, Roland Akon, tells us more.
The business plan to restructure Cameco, the national air carrier, approved by President Biya Tuesday, is extensive. Going by the plan, which spans a period of 2016-2019,
c'est quand même une dette de 35 milliards de francs CFA.
Government has to bail out Cameco from a 35 billion debt and inject an additional 60 billion francs CFA for the functioning of the company. The agreement signed with Boeing Consulting requires Cameco gets 9 more aircraft, raising to 14 the total fleet of the company. With new fleets come additional destinations, as Cameco is required to fly a total of 27 destinations worldwide by 2020. The Cameco business plan is expected to remove the air carrier from the zone of turbulence it has been flying for some time now. Aviation experts say the plan is extensive, but question whether it will be effective, given some alleged concerns of governance in the company.
Now, retirees in Cameroon are calling on the government or are calling for the revision of their retirement benefits by the National Social Insurance Fund, the CNPS. They complain that their social security is not guaranteed and that a good number continue to live in abject poverty. Roland Akong once again has the details.
The National Social Insurance Fund is said to be putting retirees in a dire in Cameroon, especially when it comes to payment of their retirement dues, dues which retirees say make them live in abject poverty.
Call it the widow's mite that they give us, because the disparity between what they give us and the standard of living is such that you cannot compromise.
The retirees say they have submitted propositions to the insurance fund on the improvement of their dues.
We are proposing that the ceiling which was given for paying retired workers, a ceiling of 300,000 francs in 3 months, that's 100,000 francs per month, no matter the salary on which you went on retirement, should be revised so that at least people should feel comfortable. If I were earning 500,000 francs per month and I retire and you're giving me 100,000 francs per month, you probably become poorer than the man who had been living on 20,000 francs per month. Then not to think of those people who were laborers or lower classes who were earning about 30,000 francs. They go on retirement and you give them 10,000 francs, 12, 15 a month. And these people live in villages. Some live in towns like Limbe, Kumba, Bamenda, and so on. They have to leave the standard of living, which is...
Replying to the cries of the retirees, the management of the Social Insurance Fund says an increment of retirees' dues is in view.
We'll see, according to the proposals we make to the government. If they agreed, then it could be possible. But you should know that the last decisions taken by the government last year will lead to a very significant increase in the next years.
Cameroon is hosting the first forum on retirement under the banner of the International Conference on Social Security.
Now, a representative of the United Nations Commission for Rights and Democracy in Central Africa was at the Elections Cameroon head office in the nation's capital, Yaoundé, today. He met with the president of Elections Cameroon to discuss on how to involve the indigenous and marginalized groups in the electoral process in Cameroon. The plight of the disabled population was equally highlighted, but it is coming several years after Elections Cameroon was put in place. Now, let's have an excerpt of the representative of the UN Commission for Rights and Democracy in Central Africa, that is Aho Wano Agbesi, and to the president of Elections Cameroon, Samuel Fonkazu. They were speaking respectively to Roland Akon.
We are in the United Nations Center for Human Rights and Democracy in Central Africa, how we can work with ELECAM together for a greater protection of civil and political rights in the context of elections. And by doing this, we will work together in the full participation of disabled people, indigenous people, and the group that are marginalized, generally marginalized group.
For instance, in Elections Cameroon, people can now vote with the braille. Those who have a problem of sight, we try as much as possible when we are doing registration to ensure that our buildings are easily accessible by people who have problems of mobility. If we have an office on the second floor, we make sure that when people with problems of mobility come to our structures, there's someone that the kit is taken down to allow them. If you look at our statistics, you would see that there are statistics that are consecrated to persons living with disabilities, because this is something that we have factored into what we are doing at Elections Cameroon.
Now, we talk about anarchical construction of houses and blockage of the drainage system in the Mongo division of Cameroon, which have been identified as principal causes of floods in that part of the country. The revelation was met by the mayor of Kongsamba 1 subdivision during a meeting which took place in that part of the country. Our reporter Jacques Ekwekinge has the details.
The mishaps of the rainy season are very apparent in the Kongsamba 1 municipality of the Mongo division, with inondations causing untold hardship to the inhabitants.
Donc ici chez nous ça ne va pas. L'inondation est de classe. Ça entre dans des maisons.
Parce que quand il pleut là, personne ne peut entrer, personne ne peut sortir.
Nonetheless, it has been identified by a supervisory committee put in place by the municipal authorities of the Kongsamba 1 municipality that the inhabitants are responsible to a greater extent for the causes of these numerous floods. Anarchical construction, construction on drainage, blockage of culvert and water passage by inhabitants have been identified as the eminent causes of floods in the Kongsamba 1 municipality. In an effort to put an end to this phenomenon, the mayor of the Kongsamba 1 municipality, El Aj Umaru, recently summoned quarter heads and other stakeholders to school them on the actions to be undertaken by the council in the days ahead to avoid floods in the municipality. For the mayor, this initiative will be carried out in two phases. First of all, to sensitize the inhabitants. Then after, equipment will be handed over to the different quarters for work to be carried out by the inhabitants, coordinated by officials of the Kongsamba 1.
Now, still in Kongsamba of the Mongo division of Cameroon, a man has actually cheated death after he was involved in a ghastly road accident. The incident last Sunday occurred after the victim, who is a hawker, was busy as usual in search of customers at Mashebe. He was knocked by a speedy truck, and even the truck further knocked a motorbike rider. He was rushed to hospital for medical attention, and it should be noted that the incivility of local inhabitants has been a continuous outcry of local authorities, which seems to be falling on deaf ears. Now, the trial of some 18 SCNC activists arrested last week in the Southwest Regional Headquarters of Buea for illegal gathering continued at the Buea Court of First Instance. That was today. The case was again adjourned to the 12th of August 2016 after the judges said that they needed more time. It should be noted that the case started actually yesterday and it continued today, and largely after it was announced that there was going to be a mass mobilization at the Buea Court of First Instance. That yesterday about 15 lawyers appeared in court today to defend the detainees headed by Barrister Njualem. Dozens of activists stormed the prison as well today. HCNC Vice President says that the judges have no strong argument to keep the people under detention. We surely shall be telling you more on that in our subsequent newscasts. On to something else, we tell you about a group of farmers that actually met here in the economic capital Douala, a meeting that was grouping farmers in the Mungu division and also in the Sanaga Maritime division, all of the littoral region, and they were warned against judicious use of funds put at their disposal by the state of Cameroon for their respective projects. They received checks issued by the program for the improvement of the competitiveness of subsistence farming initiative, that is known as ACEP FA, today in the economic capital Douala. The program has also signed an agreement with each of the farming groups, and stringent following mechanisms has equally been put in place. On the sidelines of the meeting which took place here in the economic capital Douala, the coordinator of the project spoke to our reporter Babla Jonathan. Let's take a listen.
They will face the law. The law is there for them. What is expected from this beneficiary is, first of all, they should fulfill their engagement. We have given them out the checks after studying their project, accompanying them to mount their project, and now it's left to them to go immediately to go and start, investing, so that they can finalize their project and they can put their project into production. And if they will do it quickly, they will increase their productivity, they will increase their revenue, and everybody will benefit from it. The follow-up will be done, first of all, internally through the staff of the program at the divisional level, at the regional level. We are going to mobilize the divisional delegate of Minadera Minepia also to help us to do the follow-up. We are going also to mobilize the regional delegate for Minadera Minepia. We have an internal audit who is going to go throughout the whole national county to go and do the follow-up and control those projects. And we are going also through the tender board to select, some cabinet that will go and do the job on the field.
For the criteria of selection, they spend about 1 year in diagnostic conducted by the ASEFA manager. And the criteria of selection was just, we make a diagnostic on the fields to know exactly what is their main need, so that we don't finance a project who is not in their, who will not have an effect in their way of doing. So they make a diagnostic. It's on the basis of that diagnostic that the farmer was selected, and I hope they will, if they follow what they decide to do, they will succeed. For the 26 group, about 127 million was at their disposal.
Those are, of course, the excerpts of the coordinator of ASEFA here in the littoral region, and also the littoral regional delegate of livestock, fisheries and animal industries, speaking to our reporter Babla Jonathan. Now, the President of the Republic of Cameroon has announced the distribution of 500,000 laptops to students in public and private institutions of higher learning in the country. It is the substance of a convention signed today between the Minister of Higher Education and a Chinese company. Only students of the 2016-2017 academic year are going to benefit from the contract. The plan to equip each student with a laptop is part of government's plan to transform Cameroon into a digital economy. We shall be telling you more on that in the second part of this newscast. Time for us to take you right away to news out of Cameroon. The Rumba star Kofi Olomide has been taken into custody in the Democratic Republic of Congo for allegedly kicking one of of his dancers at an airport in Nairobi. His arrest is coming days after he was deported from Kenyan airport for similar crime. A judge is now considering whether to charge the star over the incident, which was filmed and went viral on social media. He spent the night in detention. Kofi Olomide has denied assault, though he apologized for his behavior. The Congolese musician had been in similar trouble in the past. In 2012, he was convicted for assaulting his producer, and in 2008, he was equally accused of kicking a cameraman from a private television station in the Democratic Republic of Congo. We remain in news out of Cameroon. After the brutal murder of an elderly priest yesterday in France, the population is still gripped with fear. Many say that their security is not guaranteed. Meantime, religious leaders have called for unity in France in the midst of the crisis. Details with Ori News.
Muslim, Jewish and Buddhist faiths. Religious leaders in France are calling for increased security after Islamist militants killed a priest in a Normandy church. Meeting with the French president, representatives of Christian, Muslim, Jewish and Buddhist faiths expressed their sorrow, but also called for unity against Islamist violence.
Il s'agit là donc d'un fait hors.
This is a fact beyond Islam, a fact that all Muslims in France rejects in the most crucial manner. We present the Archbishop our deepest condolences.
Monseigneur, le cardinal, toutes nos condoléances.
The Archbishop of Paris said that harmonious interfaith relations were a source of strength, adding, "We must not get dragged into the political games of Daesh, which wants to set the children of the same family against one another."
Les uns contre les autres, les enfants d'une même famille.
Facing criticism over security measures from right-wing opponents, Hollande promised Pope Francis that everything would be done to protect churches and places of worship.
History has been made in the United States of America. The first woman to be declared the Democratic presidential nominee was Hillary Clinton. She was elected, or nominated rather, during day 2 of the convention of the Democrats. Let's have the details once again with Oro News.
The biggest crack in the glass ceiling yet. Hillary Clinton's own words after securing the Democratic nomination for the White House, becoming the first woman to do so for a major U.S. party. She spoke by video link to the party convention.
Hello, Philadelphia. I am so happy. It's been a great day and night. What an incredible honor that you have given me. If there are any little girls out there who stayed up late to watch, let me just say, I may become the first woman president, but one of you is next. Thank you all. I can't wait to join you in Philadelphia. Thank you.
Clinton aims to follow in the footsteps of her husband when she takes on Donald Trump in the November presidential election. Bill Clinton told the convention his wife was the best darn changemaker he'd ever known.
Hillary will make us stronger together. Those of us who have more yesterdays than tomorrows tend to care more about our children and grandchildren. The reason you should elect her is that in the greatest country on earth, we have always been about tomorrow.
Supporters of Hillary Clinton's rival Bernie Sanders had jeered from the floor earlier in the week, but although some continued to protest, Sanders himself declared Clinton as the nominee in a symbolic show of party unity.
Now, preparations have intensified ahead of elections at the Professional Football League in Cameroon. As we announced earlier, the elections will take place tomorrow, and we have two candidates that are currently vying for post of president. That is the current President General Pierre Semenge and Frank Happy. We shall be keeping you updated. Time for us to talk about the second part of this newscast, or to take you right away to a talking point. Stay with us. We shall be right back. Mr. Ndung Shehu Ako, we thank you so much for joining us tonight on Talking Point.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening, Imime4, and good evening to all the Equinox televiewers.
We should be thanking you for coming tonight. Each student in institutions of higher learning and also in universities entitled to one laptop. That's a decision by the President of the Republic. Your reaction?
Yeah, this decision was welcomed by most of the lecturers, students themselves, because there has been a problem. You know that education now is becoming digital. So normally it was a very good decision taken by the President of the Republic.
You think it's a good decision, and it's coming at a time when many are questioning when access to internet is a big problem in Cameroon. It's not only expensive but practically inaccessible in several institutions across Cameroon. We see a higher concentration of internet in bigger cities like the economic capital Douala or the littoral region, and also in the central region, but it's not a similar situation in some regions like the far north. How is it going to work? How is it going to be able? How are we going to attain this digital economy that the President is looking forward to?
Okay, but I believe if the President already announced this, it therefore means that the internet system will be updated equally. So which therefore means that, for example, as I was talking about Marwa, we will have problems there, which therefore means that this part of the region is normally supposed to be updated as far as internet facilities are concerned.
Meaning that if it's not updated, it's not going to be useful?
Yeah, it will
is
not
that
be
what
useful.
You mean?
It will not be useful. It will not be useful. It's just like you issue somebody a gift of which the person cannot use it, so it will be of no use. Issuing computers to students who will not be able to use the computers.
But you bear with me that it's going to take more time for...
It's really going to take more time, but as
for access to internet to...
It's really going to take more. I'm very convinced most of the companies who are in charge of dishing out internet facilities are working on that presently.
Okay, if that's going to be the case, then it's not going to be a big problem.
We really hope so.
And many students are actually worried about the even distribution of these laptops. It has always been a problem, as you know. They might be able to give them to institutions or heads of institutions to distribute to students, and it becomes a different story. Do you share a similar view with these students?
No. I cannot share that view, because we know that to become a student, or when you are a student, you have a matriculation number. So first of all, I will take into consideration all the students, all those who are registered as students, because you will see some of these young men and the boys and the girls who are roaming around. Some of them call themselves students, some of them are not students. So we'll consider that the registration number for the matriculation number of each student before he can be dished out a laptop.
As a lecturer, tell us how it's going to change the learning process.
Really, it's going to change the learning process, because you know, there are some students who are very good, but always from poor families, and no parent could be able to offer a laptop to a child. But now, with the gift of the President of the Republic, I'm very convinced that the learning process on the part of students will really be good. But now the problem is, how are these students going to use these computers? You know, the problem of the social media issue. You know, the children are already abusing it. We are just praying that this particular gift by the President of the Republic will not instead increase the rate of cyber criminality. So we are really afraid. Because you can imagine you are in class, you are having a class, you are teaching, and a student there is there using the telephone, WhatsApp, emo, and so on, Facebook, while the classes are going on.
Many actually see this move as a political action by the President of the Republic. Do you share a similar view?
No, it cannot be a political
Given that elections is, we have just less than 2 years to the presidential elections.
No, it cannot be a political action. No, the thing is that the President has just thought. He has just thought about the young Cameroonians, those who are schooling, and taking into consideration the level of the parents of these children. He said, okay, he wants to make this special gift to the students.
Special gift to the students.
Yes.
The reason that the justification that most of these students or critics are actually giving is that there are many problems plaguing the sector in Cameroon, that's the institution of higher learning and equally universities. Many parents are unable to pay the school fees, especially for private universities, and you can bear with that.
Yeah.
So why would the President prioritize the distribution of laptops to free education in universities and institutions of higher learning?
Yeah, those who are from state universities will be the real beneficiaries of this, because first of all, we know in the state university school fees there, we don't even call it school fees, registration.
But there are so many Cameroonians who cannot pay. How do you say
the
it's not school
50,000
fees?
francs?
Of course.
Yeah.
There are many of them.
I can't imagine that there's a Cameroonian who cannot be able to offer 50,000
There are
francs
many
a year.
Cameroonians who cannot go to the university because their parents cannot afford for their staying in. Because if you are leaving the Northwest region to go to the University of Buea, you have to rent, you have to pay, you have to pay your school fees. It's not affordable to everybody. It's not affordable to all Cameroonians.
Not if we say maybe all the Cameroonians who are supposed to go to school, they are maybe let's say 15 million. Not all 15 million Cameroonians who go to school.
In essence, is this a priority, distributing laptops, whereas there are so many other problems?
Yeah, with the digital system
of economics,
it's a priority. It's a priority for now, because we really want to see Cameroon developed. That is it. You see, most of these students who use it, those who really want to use it, they will use it by maybe making research. It will even ease the teaching procedure. For example, you can go to class, you dish out a program, the semester program, and sometimes some of the students will be able to go in to get research concerning the particular thing.
Apart from the use of laptops, many are calling for a reform in the educational system in Cameroon.
Yeah,
for
really.
Educational system to be professionalized so that those who leave school can be able to be integrated into the job market.
Yeah. You have the opportunity to be informed that presently we are working towards that. We are working on that even. The Ministry of Higher Education, especially with the professional schools, that the private learning institutions, we are presently working on the.
You seem to be very informed. How do you see the educational system
I am working on
2 years from now? Maybe about 5 years from now.
It will really be professionalized. Yes.
Okay,
because, normally we are looking forward that if a child leaves school, he can be able to do something without necessarily waiting for the government to employ the child.
Let us hope it actually happens, Mr. Andong Shehu Ako. We thank you so much for joining us tonight on Talking Point.
Thank you, Mimi.
We hope to have you some other time again.
Thank you. I'll be coming.
To our televiewers, we thank you as well for being with us in this edition of the Primetime Newscast on Equinox Television. Wishing you a blessed stay in the company of our programs. Until we meet again, goodbye.